So in this video, I want to introduce you to coordinates. Now, there are a number of different coordinate systems out there in GCSE maths, and when you get into A-level maths, we are focusing on the Cartesian coordinate system. So Cartesian is a word that comes from René Descartes. So he was a 17th century French mathematician. And we're looking at the Cartesian coordinate system, which uses this notation. So you have in brackets an x and a y, and this identifies a place on the Cartesian grid, on the coordinate grid. Okay, so just for kind of like a little bit more knowledge about this, because a lot of you will have met coordinates before. This is unlikely to be your first outing with them. But as a little bit more information, these two actually have different names. So the y is referred to as the ordinate, and the x is referred to as the abscissa. So when we talk about coordinates, we often talk about the x coordinate and the y coordinate. But these actually have separate names, which a lot of people don't really know. So this is the abscissa, this is the ordinate. And there are going to be a number of maths teachers out there that probably don't know that. I only learnt about this very recently myself. So what I'm kind of going through and explaining with the Cartesian, the abscissa, the ordinate, these aren't things that are going to be essential to us. It's really just to set the scene for you. So really what we need is to know how to work with them, okay? So what are they all about? Well, as I said, they refer to some place on the Cartesian coordinate system, on the grid. So what we have are two coordinate axes. Okay, so the plural of axis is axes, so AXES. So this horizontal line that we have here with this arrow pointing to the right is the x-axis. And this one is pointing vertically, going upwards, is the y-axis. So the reason why you have these arrows going to the right and upwards is because they are there to point in the direction of the positive direction. So we're taking to the right as positive, we're taking upwards as positive. You will see some grids that actually put arrows in both directions like that. But that, I feel, always makes it look more like north-west, east-south, like compass directions. So I don't think that's particularly useful. Okay, so let's say we have the point 2, 3. Okay, so the coordinates 2, 3. So the x-coordinate is 2, the y-coordinate is 3. Where is that on the grid? Well, our grid is split up into, you can split it up into whatever denominations essentially you want, but you could go 1, 2, 3, 4 along there, and then back along here we'll have -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. Then going in the positive y direction, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And then going down again, -1, -2, -3, -4, and going downwards. So the point 2, 3, because the x-coordinate is 2 and the y-coordinate is 3, we're looking for the point where the x-coordinate is 2 and the y-coordinate is 3. Now the x-coordinate is 2 at any point on this vertical line, because that is where x is equal to 2. So it could be anywhere on that line, theoretically. So anywhere on that line. And the y-coordinate is 3 anywhere on this line. Okay, anywhere along that line, y is equal to 3. So when we talk about the equations of lines, we would refer to that vertical line as x equals 2. So that's any point when x is 2, and that horizontal one there is when y is equal to 3. And where they intersect, this point here, is the point that I am interested in. This is the point that has the coordinates 2, 3. Now, some people, as they describe that, at least initially, want to give an idea about how you remember that it's always the x-coordinate, then the y-coordinate. So some people refer to it as along the corridor and up the stairs, as a way of remembering that. So we go 2 along the corridor and then 3 up the stairs. Okay? And we are able to identify our point that way. So that's 2, 3. What about if we had minus 2, 3? Where would that be? Well, we don't really need to draw the lines anymore. We can start to think, well, minus 2 is going to be 2 back along the corridor and then 3 up the stairs. So actually that should get us to a point here. So this would be minus 2, 3. And so we have so far plotted a point in this quadrant, so refer to each of them as quadrants. This one, this one, this one, and this one, 4 quadrants. So we've currently plotted one in this quadrant and one in this quadrant. What about, let's change the point up. How about 4 minus 1? Where would that be? Well, if we follow that logic of 4 along the corridor, so 4 along the corridor and then 1 down the stairs, that would get us to this point here, because that is when x is 4 and this is when y is minus 1. So it's where those two lines intersect, and it will be that point there. Okay. Let's do one more. So let's see, what if they were both negative? What about minus 3, minus 4? Well, if we're at minus 3, minus 4, then we go back from this point here, 3 units. Okay, so 3 along the corridor, back along the corridor, and then 4 down the stairs. And so we go all the way down to about there. Minus 3, minus 4. Okay, just about, isn't it? Maybe a bit lower than that. Okay. Now, every time I plotted the point, I started from this position here. So this point here has the coordinates of 0, 0. And that point is referred to as the origin. So we refer to that point as the origin. Quite often it is labelled as O. Okay, so quite often you'll see, especially when you go into vectors and things like that, it's labelled as O. So this is your introduction to the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, and the Cartesian grid. And you have these axes. You've got the x-axis horizontal and the y-axis vertical. And you have these 2 bits of information, the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate, or the abscissa and the ordinate, if you prefer. Okay, but the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate, and that allows you to identify whereabouts on the grid you are. Now you'll also have heard me mention that we refer to these as quadrants. So it is useful to know how we count those. So quite often they are called by name, so that this one in the top right is the first quadrant. The top left is the second quadrant. And we're working our way round anti-clockwise here. So the bottom left is the third quadrant. And then the bottom right is the fourth quadrant. Okay? And so this gives you a picture of everything that you need.